Have you ever had the strange feeling that you're living a life that isn't really yours? That there's something behind the routine, behind your thoughts, even behind the decisions you believe you're making of your own free will? What if I told you that's real? That most people live trapped in an illusion and don't even realize it. I'm not talking about fiction or conspiracy theories. I'm talking about something great sages knew thousands of years ago. But that was hidden from you. The mind. Yes, the mind. It's not just a tool. It's become your prison. Since childhood, you've been conditioned. Words you heard from your parents, fears inherited from your family, rules imposed by religions, standards of success that society shoved down your throat. All of that became memory. And now, those memories are running your life. You think you're making choices, but you're just repeating invisible commands. You wake up, grab your phone, compare yourself to others, feel a tightness in your chest, think it's anxiety, but never ask yourself where it's all coming from. You believe it's normal, but it's not. That fast-paced mental routine, that nameless anguish, that feeling of living on autopilot, that's the symptom of the programming. And if you're feeling it, maybe you're ready for what I'm about to reveal. Only 1% of people can access this teaching, because it doesn't appear to those who want it. It appears to those who are ready. The Kybalion holds a forgotten truth. All is mind. The universe is mental. And that changes everything. Because if the universe was created by a mind, then your reality is being created by your mind right now. But here's the thing. If you don't master your mind, it masters you. And that's when you get stuck in the matrix without realizing it. So if this video found you, it's not by chance. It's because the time has come. The time to get off autopilot. The time to observe what's behind the mind. The time to wake up. But here's a warning. This awakening has no return, because once you see, you can't unsee. The mind, when purified of error, becomes the mirror of the divine mind and reflects the all with perfection. It all starts with a phrase that seems simple, but holds the deepest secret of the universe. All is mind. The universe is mental. That's the first Hermetic law, the foundation of all Kybalion teachings. But what does it really mean? That everything that exists, time, space, matter, events, people, meetings, missed connections, is, at its core, a mental manifestation. And not just any mind. The mind of the all. The creative mind. The primordial consciousness that gave birth to everything that exists. The universe you live in isn't a solid, static place. It's a vibrational field, an infinite consciousness in motion. And within that consciousness, you are a creative fragment. Your thoughts aren't just thoughts. They're codes. Vibrational commands that influence the invisible structure of the reality around you. Your mind isn't separate from the universe. It's an extension of the universal mind. And that's why everything you vibrate, you attract. But here's the part that almost no one understands. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you vibrate. And what you vibrate isn't in your conscious will. It's in your deep beliefs. It's in the feelings you nurture without realizing. It's in the fear you try to hide. In the guilt you haven't dealt with. In the resentment you still carry. You can repeat positive affirmations all day long. You can say you want prosperity, love, peace. But if deep down you believe you don't deserve it, if you feel lack, if you mistrust life, that's what your vibration is sending out. And that's what the universe gives back. Picture your mind like a radio station. You can only hear the songs on the frequency you're tuned into. There's no use wanting to hear a high vibe melody if you're stuck on a frequency of fear, anger, or scarcity. And here's the craziest part. Most people don't even know what station they're tuned into because they've never stopped to observe what they feel, what they believe, what they keep repeating internally every day. This is where the real power of the law of mentalism comes in. Because it's not saying the universe will do what you want. It's saying the universe is you. That everything you see on the outside is being projected from the inside. That what happens in your outer reality is just a reflection of your inner world. If you keep living the same situations, attracting the same kinds of people, the same problems, the same cycles, that's not bad luck. It's vibrational coherence. Your inner frequency is in tune with those patterns. And until you shift your vibration, the outside will stay the same, even if you change places, partners, jobs, or cities. Now take a deep breath and pay attention to this. You're inside a vibrational matrix, not a prison of metal and concrete, but a prison of frequencies, an invisible mesh that molds itself to your inner vibration. You may think you're making free choices, but if your beliefs and feelings are trapped in a limited pattern, what you experience will be a copy of that. So how is this matrix formed? It's born from repeated thoughts. Every time you think something, you strengthen an energetic pathway in your field. If that thought repeats many times, it becomes a belief. If that belief is fueled by intense emotions, it becomes a vibrational pattern, and that pattern starts shaping your reality. It's like you're inside a hologram that responds to your energetic field in real time. But listen, this isn't a punishment. It's a revelation. It's the universe showing you that you're not a victim of circumstances. You are the creative center, not in a magical way, but a vibrational one. And the big shift happens when you realize your mind isn't just a set of ideas. It's a manifestation tool. When you start taking care of the quality of your thoughts, when you learn to feel more consciously, when you begin to observe and reprogram your beliefs, you begin to shift your frequency. And the matrix responds. New situations begin to appear. Different people come closer. Opportunities that once seemed impossible start showing up. But none of this is coincidence. It's consequence. The law of mentalism is relentless, but it's fair. It doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you are. And you are what you think, feel, and believe most strongly. Your mind is the portal. Vibration is the password. Consciousness is the path. Creative consciousness. You're manifesting everything, all the time. And this is exactly where we get to the point most people were never taught to notice. You're already manifesting everything, all the time. The reality surrounding you right now, with all its details, your relationships, your job, your finances, your health, even the conflicts that seem to have no explanation, all of it is a direct result of your vibration. Not because you consciously wanted it, but because you unconsciously allowed it. You've been a creator since the day you were born. But unlike what many believe, creation doesn't depend on declared intention. It happens even when you're on autopilot. And that's where the danger lies. Because while you think you're just living, your mind is silently sending out commands based on everything you absorbed without questioning. Beliefs inherited from your parents, phrases repeated in childhood, emotional patterns from your culture, traumas you don't even remember. All of that is operating inside you like an invisible program. Maybe you wonder why you always attract people who hurt you, why you keep repeating the same types of relationships with the same misunderstandings and frustrations, why you always end up disappointed, even when you swear this time will be different. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern. A cycle created by deep beliefs you carry about love, about worthiness, about trust. And as long as those beliefs are running in the background of your mind, you'll keep creating the same kind of reality. The same goes for money. You may want prosperity, but if deep inside, in your emotional field, old voices still echo saying that money is dirty, that the rich don't go to heaven, that having too much is selfish, then your vibration will be one of rejection. You might even earn a little, but soon lose it, or never manage to hold on to it. Because your vibrational field is programmed to push away what you rationally say you want. It's like there are two versions of you acting at the same time. One conscious, that dreams, plans, and desires, and another unconscious, that repeats, sabotages, and recreates the past. And guess which one is stronger? Always the one that vibrates more consistently. And that's usually the unconscious one, because it's been running longer. That explains why so many people stay stuck in the same cycles. Relationships that always end the same way. Financial struggles that drag on for years. Health problems that show up in chronic patterns. All of it points to one thing: a lack of awareness about your own creative power. You're creating even when you say you're not. Even when you claim you're just waiting for things to get better. That act of waiting is already a creation. Because while you wait, you're vibrating absence. You're vibrating the lack of what you want. And the universe responds to your vibration, not your words. The big shift happens when you start observing the effects your vibration has been producing in the world around you. When you stop seeing events as luck or misfortune and start understanding them as mirrors of your inner state. It's tough at first, because it means taking responsibility. But it's also freeing, because it gives you back control. By now, maybe you're starting to notice that there's something inside you that watches everything. Something quiet, aware, that doesn't change with thoughts, emotions, or circumstances. That something is your consciousness. But then comes the inevitable question. Why, even knowing this, do you keep suffering, repeating patterns, reacting, feeling small, lost, or confused? The answer lies in the birth of an invisible but incredibly powerful entity, the ego. The ego isn't something evil, but it is an illusion. It forms early, in childhood, when you start linking everything you experience to the idea of me. That's when you begin to say, my toy, my mom, my pain, my name. At that moment, without realizing it, the thought of I solidifies into identity. Consciousness, which was once pure and limitless, starts to be filtered through a mental narrative built from the past. And that's where the great prison begins. This entity called ego is a set of memories, stories, conditioning, and beliefs you've come to identify with. It tells you who you are, what you can or can't do, what you deserve or don't deserve. It's made of everything you were told, everything you lived, and everything you believed without questioning. But the scariest part is, you don't realize you're living inside it. The ego creates a character that feels separate from everything, threatened by the world, needing validation and control. This personal self lives in a constant state of defense, trying to protect a mental image of itself that, deep down, is fragile and unstable. And that's why it needs constant reinforcement, external approval, achievements, comparisons, guilt, justifications. As long as you're identified with this self, you live in a bubble. Everything that happens is interpreted through how it affects your character. Someone criticizes you? That hurts the ego. Someone compliments you? The ego inflates. You fail? The ego suffers. You win. The ego clings to the credit. It's like you're trapped in a mirror, always watching yourself, judging yourself, measuring yourself. But that mirror is distorted. It doesn't show who you really are, only who you think you need to be. This process clouds the light of original consciousness, like clouds covering the sun. Consciousness doesn't disappear, but it gets buried under layer after layer of identification. That's why, many times, even when you're silent, your mind won't stop. It's spinning around that character, worried about its image, its fears, its desires and its wounds. The ego wants safety, but is never safe. It wants control, but never really has it. And the more it tries to protect itself, the farther it gets from the truth. But here's something really important you need to understand. The ego is just a thought. It's not something real on its own. It's a process. It depends on your identification to exist. If you don't cling to it, it has no power. If you observe it, it loses strength. That's why so many masters have taught the importance of looking inward. Because when you observe the ego without identifying with it, something magical happens. You start to realize there's a space between you and your thoughts. That space is your true essence. This impersonal self is silent, but fully aware. It doesn't react, it simply perceives. It doesn't try to dominate, it just is. It doesn't need defending, because it's not an idea. It's what you were before your first thought arose. It's what observes the mind, but isn't the mind. It's what feels, but isn't the feeling. It is presence itself, and that's the beginning of liberation. The invisible beliefs that shape your prison. As we grow up, we're fed ideas. They don't come from within. They come from the outside. They're phrases spoken by voices of authority, our parents, teachers, pastors, politicians, neighbors, and they seep into us almost without us noticing. At first, they seem like just words, but little by little, they turn into silent rules about how we're supposed to live, love, think, and feel. These rules take on the name beliefs, and the scariest part is that most of them weren't even chosen by us. They were programmed. A child who grows up hearing that money is dirty, that spirituality is a sin, that showing feelings is weakness, starts to build their reality based on those ideas, without questioning them. Because they don't have filters yet. And just like a seed planted in fertile soil, those beliefs take root in the subconscious and over time become absolute truths, even if they're lies. And here's the part almost no one realizes. These beliefs weren't born with you. They were passed down as energetic inheritance. The pain you carry might not even be yours. The scarcity you experience might have started 4 generations before you were even born. And yet, it pulses in your vibrational field like it's a personal burden. Let me share with you a little fable that clearly illustrates what we're talking about. Listen closely, because a lot of people don't realize how much these beliefs can keep us trapped in the matrix. Once upon a time, in a village hidden among the mountains, a girl named Elira was born. From a young age, Elira heard her grandmother repeat the same phrase every time someone talked about dreams. "Careful, girl. Dreaming too big makes the fall even harder." Elira didn't understand it, but it made her afraid. Whenever she desired something grand, an inner voice held her back. "Better not," she thought. "It's dangerous to want too much." Time passed, and Elira grew up. She became a talented woman, but full of self-doubt. She could sing like the spring winds, but never dared to sing in public. She could heal with herbs, but kept her gifts hidden. One day, while walking through the forest, she came across an elderly woman who wasn't from the village. The woman, with deep eyes and a calm voice, asked her, "Why do you live so small?" Elira replied, "Because in my family, those who dream too much get punished." The old woman smiled. She asked Elira to dig a small hole in the ground. And there, buried, Elira found an old rusty medallion with the words, "She dreamed and died." It belonged to her great-grandmother. The old woman looked at Elira and said, "What your great-grandmother lived through was the pain of a cruel time, but you live in a different time. You can sing, you can dream. You are not the past." That night, Elira sang to the moon. and her voice broke a cycle that had lasted for generations. That fable is simple, but powerful. Because it shows us that many of our limitations are upheld out of loyalty to stories that aren't even ours. Loyalty to the pain of our ancestors. Scarcity, for example, is rarely just about money. It starts from a lack of affection, the absence of permission to receive, the belief that we're not worthy. And if no one breaks that chain, it continues, invisible but present, vibrating in family fields for centuries. But even when someone starts to awaken and realizes they can break old patterns, a feeling often shows up along the way, sneaky, heavy, paralyzing. Guilt. Guilt presents itself in many forms. It can be a whispered thought in the back of your mind, I should have done it differently. It can be a tightness in your chest every time you think about a bad decision, or even a vague feeling that you're failing, even when you're trying your best. Guilt is, perhaps, one of the most common traps that catch even the most conscious people, because it disguises itself as a virtue. It looks like regret, like ethics, like awareness. But in reality, it's paralysis. According to the Hawkins scale of consciousness, which measures the energetic vibration of emotional states, guilt is among the lowest frequencies of human existence. It vibrates as low as shame. And that's no coincidence, because when you're vibrating guilt, you disconnect from your creative power. You don't feel worthy of change. You don't believe you can rebuild. You see yourself as someone who messed up and now needs to pay. That creates a subtle cycle of self-punishment, of self-sabotage, of unconsciously attracting more situations that reinforce that pain. But here's the most important point. Guilt has no real spiritual use. It doesn't teach, it doesn't heal, it doesn't transform. It just repeats. Guilt has no future. It keeps you trapped in the past. And that's exactly why so many people keep spinning in circles, even after they've awakened, because they're carrying a vibrational weight that keeps them from moving forward. The way out is a powerful inner shift, an energetic shift that may seem subtle but changes everything. Trading guilt for responsibility. Responsibility is not the same as guilt. Guilt says, "The pain I caused defines me." Responsibility says, "I acknowledge what I did, and I choose to do things differently from now on." See the difference? Guilt paralyzes you. Responsibility frees you. When you take responsibility for yourself, you stop looking back as if the past is a burden you have to drag along. You start seeing the past as a lesson that brought you here, and this present moment, now, becomes the starting point. This is where one of the most powerful spiritual tools comes in: forgiveness. But the forgiveness we're talking about here isn't just an act directed toward others. True forgiveness starts when you look at yourself with compassion. When you understand that, in that moment of your life, you acted with the level of awareness you had, that you were trying to survive, that you were reacting from a wounded place, maybe without even knowing it. And when you forgive yourself, a vibrational miracle happens. Your frequency rises. You leave the energetic mud of self-punishment and start to touch states of peace, acceptance, love. It's not that your mistakes disappear, it's that they transform into wisdom. How the mind created the matrix and how to escape it. The unconscious mind, when left unobserved, starts to eat away at the physical body like a silent rust. It doesn't need permission to act, it just reacts. Fear, for example, doesn't just show up as a vague thought. According to traditional Chinese medicine, it settles in the kidneys. Every time you feel insecure, every time you suppress that feeling, a subtle signal runs through your nervous system, your auric field, and builds up there, like a dense cloud blocking your vital energy. The same happens with sadness, which settles in the lungs, affecting your breathing, your rhythm, your vitality. Anger concentrates in the liver, anxiety in the heart. Everything that isn't emotionally digested ends up being stored vibrationally. This isn't mysticism. This is subtle awareness. Your body is a field of frequencies that records everything you didn't have the courage to fully feel. An argument you held in, a trauma you tried to forget, a loss you never processed. All of it stays there, vibrating, shaping your behaviors, your pain, your beliefs. The body screams what the soul stays silent about. The mind creates, the body feels. Consciousness observes. And if you don't access consciousness, you become a hostage to a hyperactive mind and a sick body. And this is where mental deprogramming becomes an act of true healing. When you change your beliefs, you change your thoughts. When you change your thoughts, you change your frequency. When you change your frequency, you change the destiny that kept repeating itself. But why did the mind create a prison? Because it wanted to protect you. It's an incredible tool, but it was put in charge. And a tool in charge becomes a tyrant. The mind, when it operates on its own, starts to create realities just to justify its own existence. It observes the world, interprets facts, judges what's right or wrong, good or bad. And from that, the concept of thought form is born. Every thought you have, if repeated enough, becomes an energetic form, almost like a vibrational entity. It takes shape. It starts influencing your choices, your emotions, your view of reality. A thought like, "I'm never enough," for example, doesn't just stay in your head. It shapes your relationships, your opportunities, your reactions. It sees the world through a distorted lens. And all of this is held up by desires that aren't even yours. You were taught to want success, stability, approval, security. But no one asked what your soul really wants. And so, you start spinning on the wheel of samskara, a cycle of repeated mental rebirths. You repeat patterns, live the same pain, face the same situations with different faces. The mental matrix is this invisible system of inherited ideas, projected desires, and automated judgments. And what keeps this matrix alive is your lack of presence. This is the point where something starts to shift. A silent space, almost imperceptible, appears between thoughts. It's not just any silence. It's a living, pulsing emptiness that isn't absence, but presence. For the first time, you realize you can observe your mind without getting dragged by it. Meditation is born right there, not as a complicated technique, but as an act of listening. Listening to what's always been there, but was drowned out by constant inner chatter. This inner silence isn't the end of the mind, but the beginning of its dissolving. The thoughts still come, but you don't feed them. You just observe. And the more you observe, the weaker they become. The mind, used to being in control, gets thrown off. It screams, kicks, tries to pull you back into the noise. But you've already touched something different. You've already felt the taste of the freedom that lives in the now. And it's in that space that the glimpse of enlightenment begins. Becoming enlightened isn't about understanding more. It's about carrying less past, less expectation, less self. Because the more memory you carry, the more the present gets clouded. The light of consciousness shines when the clouds of the mind move away. And the wild part is that this light doesn't come from outside. It rises from within. It's always been here. But it was hidden under layers of thought, identity, and desire. And then comes the inevitable question. So now what? What do you do after you see? We've finally reached the choice that can't be put off. You can keep feeding the mind, believing something is still missing. You can keep piling up experiences, lessons, achievements, always with that feeling that something is still coming. Or you can stop, breathe, and realize that nothing, absolutely nothing, needs to be reached. that everything you've always been looking for was already inside you. The mind will try to convince you otherwise. It'll say it's too soon, that you need more practice, more reading, more proof. It'll use your own insecurities to pull you back to the old self. But consciousness, that quiet presence that sees it all, doesn't need convincing. It just is. And the irreversible awakening happens when you choose that presence. Not as an idea, but as a state of being. You don't decide with your head, you simply recognize. It's a remembering. Like waking up from a long dream and realizing everything that felt urgent was just smoke. Escaping the matrix isn't about running away. It's about coming back to yourself. It's stepping out of the illusion that you are your thoughts, your fears, your history, and resting in what's always been here, a living, free, limitless consciousness. This is the turning point. Either you keep being programmed by the mind, or you live as who you really are. And now, the choice is yours. Before you go, there's something important I need to tell you. If this video resonated with you this far, it's because something inside you is waking up. And to keep going on this journey, there's a follow-up video prepared especially for you that goes even deeper into what was revealed today. Don't leave now. Take a deep breath. Feel what this stirred up in you. And then click on the video that's appearing here on the screen. It's the vibrational continuation of this journey, and it might be exactly what your soul needs right now. I'll see you there. Let's cross this portal together.